podcast and start streaming. All right, let's try this. Excellent connection, excellent connection. Now it seems like it's working. I don't know. It's working. I had to do it through YouTube stream rather than OBS stream. Who knows? It keeps dropping. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to do a live stream, but it keeps dropping. I have no idea what's happening. I don't know how long I will be able to tolerate. And we're back again. And now it should be back. Let's try this. Let's just go. I'm going to leave OBS and I'm going to come right back. And we're connected. No data. And now it's excellent. And now it says excellent. So everything seems to be fine. I'm going to pay attention to this little thing on OBS. I don't know what's going on with that. I wonder if this even works. It should be Q. Cancel. It is Command Shift 1. Nope. Is it A? No, it's not even working. OBS preferences. Hotkey. Command Shift. That's that. Control Shift 1. Let's see if that still works. Hey, that did. All right. I'm back. It seems to be working again. Technical difficulties when you go live. Anyway. So I was going to talk about some fun stuff. Oh, sorry, that was a different camera. About, yeah, it's so crazy. All right. I'm going to talk about this. So let me show you what I'm going to talk about. I'm talking about this. So this post came out on January 16th. However, if I go, here, and I go here, posted on April 1. Extended support is now generally available. It was available before, just so you know. However, it wasn't being charged what it was. Is that my camera? That's better. That's good. All right. So, is available in all regions. Kubernetes 1.23 and higher. Extended support window will be charged 60 cents per cluster per hour. What does that mean? That means the clusters that you have set up that were, which they don't show the original cost, does it? Oh, there it is. Yeah. That you originally were paying only 10 cents an hour, they are now charging 6 times that. So starting on April 1st, you might want to check your AWS costs to make sure that they are not going up. Why are they doing that? Because they can generate more income. Anyway, it's really annoying. But that is something that they are doing. For those who aren't familiar with Kubernetes and EKS, ECS, and all these container services that are out there, Kubernetes is great. It's an orchestration system for basically Docker containers. what is a Docker container? I could go on and on about talking about containers, talking about a container is, so let's just do it, right? A container is a way to actually compartmentalize an application to run um, in a contained environment. So you get to control everything in that environment. It's like handing somebody your laptop, and that laptop has everything on it that it needs to run. So when you spin up a Docker container, the Docker file that you use to create everything has a base image that it's going to use, and then everything you need to install on it, all the dependencies, everything else, and potentially some other. Well, that's interesting. I'm having a lot of technical challenges. Anyway, some other interesting things in regards to that. I think I'm still streaming. Yeah, it looks like I'm still live. Anyway, uh, so that's really cool. And what that does is you can take that Docker file and give it to anybody, and they will actually be able to run that Docker file on their system. And everyone's like, oh, but I have a Mac, or oh, I have a Windows machine. And if you have one of those, that is perfectly okay. However, by having those different machines and you have Docker, it will actually run those in a contained environment. There was what was it called? Vagrant. So Vagrant was a version of this a long time ago, maybe not so long ago, and it allowed you to do all sorts of fun things. I used Vagrant for WordPress, and it allowed me to spin up WordPress environments locally. It was really, really great. This was in 2010, I guess 2011, and it was a lot of fun. And then I was playing with Docker, and Docker got uh, adopted by a lot of places. And then there was things like Puppet and Chef and Puppet for orchestration. And Kubernetes is another container orchestrator that is truly amazing. And it allows you to set up all of these environments running on pods, spinning up pods as you need them. Goes back to what I was originally talking about in AWS with your pods and your containers. You do not have to have systems running 24/7 anymore. It's really, really nice. People are like, oh, but I'm on the web and I need it up all the time. Well, let's look at your traffic. Do you really need your website to be running 24/7? And people are like, well, I might miss a client or I might miss this. Well, you should actually check. It takes a while, but you should be able to determine what your loads are, what your thresholds are, if you're doing certain campaigns, and how all of that loads. And you'll see your trends, and you'll identify your own spikes of traffic and when people are actually viewing your site. Even on YouTube, you can see how many people are on your current website and or watching me right now. And then you can identify when you actually need to spin up additional pods or have any pods at all. Sure, you might have that one or two person as an outlier that will get a slower performance, but I would rather have, well, it's all depends on what your goals are, right? So I would want somebody to be able to go to the site 24/7. Sure, that's the internet. Global, everything's wonderful. You run CDN, you can set up static sites and do that. However, you don't need to have support to support a million concurrent users on your website on day one. You know why? Because a million users don't know about your website on day one. It's just silly. And people over engineer things to actually handle this massive scale because we're going to be amazing. And more often than not, you won't be. And that's okay. But if you have your few solid viewers, subscribers, whatever, and you make things cater to them in that specific market, then you can actually scale back on your hardware costs, scale back on your cloud costs. Um, I will talk about this probably a lot. So Jason Fried and DHH, they run Basecamp and founders of Basecamp, 37 Signals. they recently, last year, went from cloud to exiting the cloud, and they wrote a whole blog post about it and an article. I'll let you go find it and read it. But it was amazing of how much cost they actually saved by going away from the cloud. And that's a big debate of, oh, build versus buy, and how do you determine that, and what is my threshold, and what about the maintenance, and how do I upgrade servers, and what if the server goes down? And all of those questions are valid. And you need to understand how to actually handle all of that underlying infrastructure. But when you do, and you realize the actual cost involved in it compared to the cost of any one of the big three cloud providers, and I say the big three, Azure, AWS, GCP. Are there other cloud providers? Absolutely. I mean, you can get hosting for, well, actually, if you go on Firebase, you can get hosting for static sites for free. Um, it depends on how much traffic you have. And there's I forgot who did it. Today, there was, let me find it. Um, I posted it. Uh, there was an article that came out today that was really, really helpful. And engineers, yeah, I wish I knew who wrote it, but I'm going to put it up here. Let me close that and then check this out. So if you look here, there's a website called free-4.dev. And these are all these wonderful tools for developers and what their limits are for all of the open source stuff you have. So if you go down, and I'll go to Google since it's the top. I think, yeah, Adi Osmani actually posted it. So credit to him. I did not find this. I guess I found it through him. Anyway, follow him. He's amazing. He's written several books. He's great. I'm not, no, actually, let's go there. So if I come here and let's just Adi Osmani, that guy, this guy. Oh yeah, it was him. This is the article. So yeah, go follow him. But let's get back to this. So if you want to use something like App Engine, 28 front end instances hours per day, 9 backed instances hours per day. Firestore, you can use a gig of storage, right? 50,000 reads, 20,000 writes, and 20,000 deletes per day. If I had 50,000 people come to my website per day, I would be quite happy. But you have cloud build, 120 build minutes per day, things like that. And then he has it for Azure, he has it for AWS. This, I don't know if he created this. I think this is something he found. But Cloudflare, management solutions, source code repos, all these fabulous APIs that have free limits. And that's what's really nice about that is you got to realize they are free limits. I wonder why that's not working either. Wow, I'm just configuring it. Nope, that should be fine. All right, so let's see. Let's come back here. Oh, there we go. I don't know what's going on with that. Is that, yeah, that's still working. I don't know. I'm having a lot of technical challenges tonight, mainly because of, I think it's network stuff. The Stream Deck wasn't working, the lighting was a little bit off. Anyway, here I am. All right, so that, let's go back to this. This is really, really helpful for various people that are getting started in your own startup. You want to figure out what APIs you can have access to and what you can play with to start. These are a lot of them. Yeah, Contentful. I wonder if this still works. Let's see. I think it's this. Nope. Nope. Still doesn't work. Mm, Hey, there it is. Hotkeys, Contentful. This is a great headless CMS, just for the record. Anyway. AWS is starting to charge more for various things on, well, let's close that. That's really crazy. How did I get, whatever. So AWS is charging more, 6 times more for extended support. Life with the dog. Extended support, and they're charging that starting on April 1. So your costs probably have gone up if you're using EKS. Take a look at it, pay attention to your cost billing, and make sure you upgrade your pods and set that up on a regular schedule. What else? That was at 8:20. Yeah, I dealt with a lot of tech stuff today. Cloud architecture, there's a lot of different approaches to that. What I was talking about with the 37 Signals guys, they took their cloud infrastructure, realized how much they were spending on the cloud on a monthly basis, pulled all of that back, and they have that in their podcast on how they did that, pulled all of that back, made it an on-prem or their own data center, and then from there they've recouped their cost in regards to all of that. Truly inspirational on, hey, you know what, you don't have to be tied to a third party. That's one of the things I have always, especially with new frameworks that come out, is the dependencies that people create on these new frameworks. Angular, React, Vue. React is great. Vue is amazing. I got nothing nice to say about Angular, sorry. But what you can do with that is really, really nice. And then keep in mind, it is a dependency. And they are now building things that could get deprecated. And if you're using it and they deprecate it and then turn it off completely, then you're probably going to be in a bad place. And I talked about this previously, there was a small Python library, I think it was a Python library, that all it did was right trim your content. And when you'd right trim your content, all that means is it would actually remove the extra white space of your string. Anyway, this guy who wrote that little library, thousands of websites were using it, and he decided to pull it off. Oh, it was Node. It was a Node module. That's what it was. And he decided to pull it off of NPM. And he was like, I don't want to support this anymore. No one uses it. Or he didn't really pay attention to who was using it, and he turned it off. And thousands of websites went down because they were too lazy to write their own version of an rtrim function. And it was like 3 lines of code, and it was hysterical when I was like, oh, glad we're not using that. Node module issue. See if I wonder if that's even, I don't know, I'll have to find it. I didn't plan on talking about that today, but it was hysterical when that actually happened. Oh, there it is. I found it. So this is 2016. So yeah, code was pulled from NPM, which everyone was using. One developer broke Node, Babel, and thousands of projects with 11 lines of JavaScript. Oh, it was LeftPad. That was it. This was the code. And it was fetched 2.4 million times, and he just pulled it. And by pulling it, he broke all the sites that were dependent on it. So when you're actually being dependent on a third-party library, know what it's doing. Don't just start pulling in random libraries that you don't know about. Sure, you can use them to figure things out, but make sure you understand what they're doing. More often than not, you can actually write a lot of that code yourself. Um, Libraries are really, really helpful. That's why we have all of these open source libraries out there. Make sure they come from a reputable source. How do you determine that? You can check the number of stars, what kind of community that they have built around it. Like I remember when Vue first came out, it was written by one person. It was managed by one person. It had one commit. Was it great? Still was amazing. But would I use it for production when it first came out? No. React was backed by Facebook, which then you're like, oh, Facebook is a strong company and has a good backing and things like that. But let's talk about how do you know where your data is going? Let's talk about their, what is it, Cambridge Analytics, whole legal battle that they went through. They're like, we will never sell your data until we sold your data, right? So question on where your integrity lies and where that data is coming from. When you build it, when you pull in a third party, where is that data really, really going? That's one of the big concerns with all this AI stuff. Everyone's learning about new AI models and large language models, and people are like, oh, wow, this model is great. Let me ask it a bunch of questions that are really, really helpful to build my company. Well, now they have your company ideas, your company information. There is somebody I was talking to that they have uploaded like all their financial data, all of their business plans and marketing plans, and let ChatGPT or whatever one they were using solve it. And I'm like, but you know that your competitors can now go there and ask it, hey, if I were this company, what would my business model be? And it might be able to respond exactly what that business model would be because it has now been trained on your personal data. So be careful when you're submitting requests to any type of AI, what it's actually going to do, how it's going to get used. Something to be aware of. Finally I think I got everything working again. I don't know what was going on with YouTube tonight, but I think we're in a good spot. Um, Talked a little bit about AWS and their new costs starting April 1, the cloud structure and being able to pull things out of it. And I want to talk about Docker containers and all the containerization and orchestrations that people are using for a lot of the cloud architecture. And keep in mind, there are a lot of times there are free tiers out there. Look at that list that I just posted. You can check it out. It's really cool. You can probably do a lot of prototyping through that. I think that is all for tonight, and I will. Oh, I wonder if this still works. There was something else I was playing with earlier today. Let's see if I can do it. If I do this right, and I click on this camera, much better lighting. Anyway, I could probably figure that out too. That's all for tonight. I think next week I'm just gonna get back into some fun code. So next Tuesday, we're gonna play on CodePen and write some fun code. See what's out there and see how we can make it better. See what we can learn from. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, and I will be in touch. I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one.